The Jomsvikings. Mysterious, elite, and feared across the Viking world. Cloaked in an aura of legend, they lived by an uncompromising code, unmatched in bravery and ferocity. This exclusive band of Viking warriors, centered at the fortress of Jomsborg, became the greatest enigma of their age. With a set of principles as severe as the icy Baltic waves they sailed, the Jomsvikings rose to prominence and then fell, leaving behind questions that have fascinated historians and storytellers for centuries. Here's what we know, and what we still don't, about these legendary warriors and their powerful impact on Viking politics. Welcome to Viking Tea, where legends come to life. Today, we uncover the rise, loyalty, and ultimate betrayal of the legendary Jomsvikings. The Jomsvikings are said to have been founded around the 10th century by the chieftain Palnatoke Palnersson, a daring warrior who was known for his skills in combat and his disdain for loyalty to any one ruler. Under Palnatoke's vision, the Jomsvikings would become an elite fighting force like no other, bound by loyalty to each other alone and operating from the fortress of Jomsborg. This fortress, located along the southern coast of the Baltic Sea, possibly near modern-day Poland, was a place of strict order, and entry was no easy task. Palnatoke himself handpicked each warrior, and only the fiercest and most courageous were admitted. Their fearsome reputation quickly spread, thanks to their unwavering adherence to their own strict code. According to Jomsvikings saga and other sources, this code separated them from the standard Viking raiders. For one, only men between the ages of 18 and 50 were eligible. This age limit meant that all Jomsvikings were in their physical prime, ready to face the harsh demands of battle. They were also forbidden from forming personal attachments. A Jomsviking was forbidden to marry or even pursue romantic relationships. Such commitments were seen as distractions that could make a man hesitate in combat. Their only bond was to their brothers in arms, and their loyalty was expected to remain unswerving and pure. Furthermore, quarrels and grudges were not allowed within their ranks. Any dispute had to be immediately settled by a duel or be abandoned altogether. The consequence for any breach of this rule was often expulsion or even death. Another unique aspect of their code was that a Jomsviking could never turn down a challenge. If another warrior issued a challenge, he had to accept it, even if it meant certain death. This rule emphasized their bravery and disregard for personal safety, which was a hallmark of the Jomsvikings' way of life. Above all, a Jomsviking could not show fear. To turn one's back in combat or retreat was considered the ultimate disgrace, punishable by severe consequences, including banishment. The Jomsvikings' code created an unbreakable camaraderie, but it also forced them into brutal and often deadly situations. This strict adherence to their principles was both their strength and, eventually, their downfall. The saga of Olaf Tryggvason illustrates this dramatically. Olaf, a fierce Norwegian king and Christian convert, had dealings with the Jomsvikings, which proved both beneficial and dangerous for them. One of the most famous stories involving the Jomsvikings was their involvement in the Battle of Hjörungavágr. According to legend, the Jomsvikings were called upon to fight against Norwegian forces. True to their code, they faced the Norwegians in brutal combat, despite being heavily outnumbered and facing impossible odds. The battle is recounted with vivid details in the Jomsvikings saga, where their legendary courage and willingness to die rather than retreat is highlighted. As the battle raged, Thorir the Silent and other prominent Jomsvikings were captured or killed, and those taken prisoner faced the ultimate test of their loyalty to their code. One by one, they were offered clemency if they would surrender, but many chose death over dishonor. Some, including the chieftain Sigvaldi, may have abandoned the field, casting doubt on their loyalty and sealing their defeat. The Jomsvikings were unique in their role as elite mercenaries. Unlike other Viking warriors who served particular kings or clans, the Jomsvikings fought for whoever could afford their services, including powerful rulers like Harald Bluetooth and his son Sweyn Forkbeard. They were fiercely independent, acting as a third force in the complex political battles of their time. Kings found the Jomsvikings both indispensable and terrifying. Here was a group of warriors who could be relied upon to fight ferociously for a cause, but only as long as it suited them. One of their most significant political impacts was helping Sweyn Forkbeard rebel against his own father, Harald Bluetooth. Palnatoke had raised Sweyn, and the two shared a bond forged in ambition and rebellion. When Sweyn decided to overthrow his father, Palnatoke and the Jomsvikings took his side, using their strategic prowess and military might to turn the tides in his favour. This alliance was a betrayal that echoed across the Viking world. A warrior, sworn to independence, siding with a son against his father. It showed the world that the Jomsvikings were a force that could make or break kings, cementing their place in history as a terrifyingly neutral force of power. Despite their strength, the Jomsvikings' strict code eventually led to their downfall. Their unyielding principles meant they often took on impossible tasks, refusing to back down even when it would have been wise to do so. Their defeat at Hjörungavágr was a devastating blow, revealing weaknesses in their inflexible code. Without the ability to retreat, they faced annihilation. Many Jomsvikings were killed, and those who survived were scattered, their reputation damaged beyond repair. The fortress of Jomsborg, once their impregnable home, faded into legend. Some say it fell after the disastrous battle, while others claim the Jomsvikings continued in secret, operating from the shadows. The exact fate of Jomsborg remains unknown, and no definitive archaeological evidence has confirmed its location. Some historians believe it was merely a legend crafted to emphasize the power and discipline of the Jomsvikings, while others argue that the Jomsvikings disbanded, blending back into other Viking bands or adopting new identities. The truth about the Jomsvikings remains elusive. Their existence, code, and impact on Viking history are debated by scholars. Were they truly bound by the intense rules described in the sagas? Or is this a romanticized retelling meant to add honor and mystique to a band of mercenaries? Did Jomsborg ever exist as described, or was it an exaggerated myth crafted by later writers? The Jomsvikings saga and other accounts may blend fact with fiction, leaving us to wonder if the Jomsvikings were indeed the elite warriors they're portrayed to be, or if they were simply a group of mercenaries whose story grew with each retelling. Their influence on Viking politics, helping to place Sweyn Forkbeard on the throne, shaping battles and unsettling kingdoms, speaks to their power, but how much of it was due to loyalty, and how much to gold? The Jomsvikings story, marked by a rise through discipline and loyalty, and a fall by betrayal and rigidity, lives on. They were warriors who swore not to kings, but to one another. The code that once united them became their doom, leaving a legacy as both heroes and outlaws, bound by a fierce honor that made them legends. Were they real, or the greatest Viking myth of all time? The Jomsvikings may forever remain a shadowy force in history, half real, half legend, and entirely unforgettable. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us every week for more Viking legends on Viking Tea.